Hello, all you beautiful gamers out there. It is I, Totem Lord, and in my last Memories, Trinkets, and Treasures video, we talked about how amazing the DS was and my memories that went along with it, and I did hint a little bit about going over one Game Boy original. So, today's edition will be about, well, just like I said, the original big fat Game Boy brick and my amazing memories with it. Now, there's very little I can tell you about the Game Boy in terms of history, in terms of anything, because there's so much information out there about, and many people have done it. In fact, they can do it way better than I could ever hope to. In fact, I highly recommend going over and checking out those videos because it has an amazing history and a lot of things to go along with it. One that I'll point out is how one of these suckers apparently survived a nuclear blast and still functions. That is cool. They definitely don't make these suckers like they used to. But let's go on about the Game Boy, shall we? Now, this thing really didn't have the greatest screen at all. You got this ugly green picture here, and while the games turned out okay, anytime you moved it got all blurry, and which kind of sucked. But at the time, it was the best that we had. So, growing up then, we just dealt with it. However, the Game Boy had a few revisions along the way. One of them being a Game Boy Pocket, which I wanted one so bad, but I never got one. In fact, even to this day, I still don't own a Game Boy Pocket, which just sucks because I don't know. I mean, I know that the next one, the Game Boy Color, was pretty much a Game Boy Pocket, but with color. But it was always the appeal of that Game Boy Pocket that I always wanted. So, anyway, hashtag gamer goals, And then we saw a true evolution in the Game Boy with the amazing Game Boy Advance. Well, we're just going to skip to the SP because the original Advance was cool, but this thing improved on all of that. However, we're not here to talk about the Game Boy Advance. We're not here to talk about the Game Boy Color. We're here to talk about La Originale and my memories with it. So, the Game Boy had an amazing library. If I'm not mistaken, it went on for the Game Boy went over a span of, I'm pretty sure, well over 10 years, which is amazing. Just how long this sucker held up, not only physically, but in the long term. And one game I'd like to talk about would be Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. Now, the first Mario Land, it was good. It had four worlds, 3 levels each. They always ended in a boss level, and that one introduced such things like being in a submarine, flying in a plane. But it was number 2 here that really did it for me. It was so cool. It was almost like playing Mario World on your Game Boy in a way. Bear with me here. I mean, because you could. The sprite was bigger and it looked, like a more complete, like the more modern Mario that we saw. Also, you could do the spin jump, which that might be the biggest thing that made me feel like it was actually like playing, Mario World on the Super Nintendo. But what Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins did, not only introduced Wario, but it kind of gave you like an open world type of vibe with the game, because you didn't have to go through World 1, you didn't have to go through World 2, 3, yada yada. You could do any level you wanted. If you wanted to start off in the big old tree, you could. If you wanted to go underwater and get that out of the way, just fine. Want to go outer space? Go for it. In fact, speaking of outer space, the second level in the outer space level is so amazing. Can we just take a moment and just acknowledge that? But it's got such a good beat. I wish the rest of the internet would, hurry up and come along to that. But yes, Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins, so many amazing memories with it. Now, it's really hard to talk about the Game Boy and not talk about Tetris. I mean, I actually tried to do this video and tried not to mention Tetris, and it just didn't work out, so we're just going to include it. But, kind of like the Game Boy, there's very little I could tell you about Tetris that would be a surprise. So, my personal story to go along with Tetris, I was a kid growing up when I grew up with the Game Boy, and I remember on field trips was when the Game Boy really shined, and playing Tetris, I like Tetris as much as the next guy, but I remember on the bus there was this one kid who played. I won't say his name, even though I'm not like in contact with him anymore or anything. But let's just say his name was Dan. Anyway, this kid Dan, like I remember like he was playing Tetris on the bus on this field trip, and it was a long one. I remember it was in cross country in high school, and like I actually one of us happened to have a link cable. I don't remember who, but I remember in our little small cluster there on the bus, we all played Tetris, and it was it was so cool because this guy Dan, as we're calling him, he wasn't popular. He wasn't was kind of a lone kid, really nice guy and all, but the funny thing is he was really good at Tetris, and I remember he actually beat all of us there in that small cluster. And people were taking turns and to try to beat him, and it was kind of his moment to shine, and that was really cool because he was always somebody I enjoyed talking to, and never hung out with him, but nice guy. It was just nice to see this guy get his moment in the sun thanks to multiplayer Tetris on the Game Boy. So yes, Tetris, amazing game, so much fun multiplayer. Held up back then. I'm sure it does now. Which I need to try the game. Maybe I'll whoop my kids on it after this. Moving on now. Another game that I just freaking loved on the Game Boy was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Fall of the Foot Clan. Now, this was a really interesting game because you had the first game on the NES, and it was almost nothing like Ninja Turtles. I mean, yeah, you had the four turtles, they had their correct weapons along with their colors, but the enemies were so weird and so out of, like, you had no idea where the heck they came from. But Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan, like, the sprites looked great, all the turtles, you could tell them apart. They're, they didn't just have a weapon. Well, yeah, maybe, okay, I take that back. They were, kind of the same, but they were so much more detailed. They looked way better than than its NES counterpart. And the enemies were actually enemies from the show. And the sad thing is, I do remember beating this game in like one sit, or maybe one or two sittings. And but it's a game that I just I love to come back to because like it's just a side-scrolling platformer, beat 'em up, and it's so good, so much fun to come back to. My next game is a game that is, some call it overrated. It is known as one of the toughest games on the NES, but we got a version of it on the Game Boy with the exact same name. Now this is interesting because it's same name but different game. Another great YouTube channel, by the way. But Battletoads on the Game Boy was really cool. For one, it was only one player, unlike the original, which kind of sucks. But with the Game Boy stuff, you had to expect it to be scaled down a bit. So only one player. But the good thing was you got to be the best Battletoads ever, which is Zitz. And fight me if you don't believe that. No, I'm just kidding. But no. Yeah, it was only like 9 levels instead of the grueling 12, and these levels were pretty manageable. Truth be told, I've actually made it all the way to the 9th level. I can't beat that stupid elevator shaft because It's 9 grueling levels. Like they're still challenging. They're you know, Battletoads. That's what it is. It's really challenging, but it's also really fun. Like you want to keep trying. You know, you want to beat it. Unlike some games that are just cheap and unfair. But someday, Battletoads, I will defeat you. Mark my words. Now, here's something that people probably wouldn't expect, but growing up, I really loved baseball on the original Game Boy. It was you know, I don't play in the sports games nowadays unless you know, they have the name Mario attached to them. You know, big surprise. But back in the day, I loved plugging hours into this. It was you know, really simple game. You had only 2 teams, the white team and the red team. Mario and Luigi. I was always the red team because it had Luigi, and I'm a huge Luigi fanatic. I don't know how huge, but I adore Luigi. And but yeah, you know, you just pick this up, you can play it. It's super easy. Handles very well. And yeah, I've plugged so many hours in this. I don't know if I've ever played it 2 players though. I currently do own 2 copies, but I don't know if I ever played it 2 players. But then again, why kill a good thing? Now, here's another one. We may as well stick in the sports genre for a second. It was tennis. Tennis was, you know, pretty neat. Kind of along the same lines as baseball, because tennis is a really easy pick up and play game. The controls are simple. You can hit A to hit it normally, and B to lob it. I think why tennis sticks out to me, though, is because this is one that I played linked up. Growing up, me and my cousin were really close. We did everything together. We went out, you know, we got kicked outdoors together. We'd find things to do. We got along great. And on rainy days, we'd both bust out our Game Boys and play some tennis, in which it was just a blast. You know, to actually, you know, have link cables, 2 Game Boys, 2 games, but yeah, very, very fond memories of tennis as well. Now, my final game, which I didn't mean to go with that wordplay, is Final Fantasy Legend. Now, while I did play all 3 Final Fantasy Legends, the first one sticks out to me just because, well, I played it more. When I acquired 2 and 3, you know, I'd already played number 1 quite a bit, and number 2 and 3 I actually bought on my own. I remember I had them new in the box. I wish I still had those boxes and manuals now. But yeah, what was cool about Final Fantasy is, even though it wasn't a true Final Fantasy, and even playing it, you're like, this is, you know, something's different. This is kind of weird. It was still a really cool experience, and the story was interesting enough. You know, you're climbing a tower, trying to figure out, you know, it had that level of intrigue to it. So, love Final Fantasy Legend, and honestly, I do need to give number 2 and 3 another shot, because I don't think I've played them since I was a teenager, which is kind of like, I do own them still, but yeah, I've never returned to them, so maybe another gamer goal. So anywho, that about wraps up my my memories with the original Game Boy. Again, just such a great piece of you know, gaming hardware here. While it's not actually great in itself, it's what it did for people, you know, because this is all we had besides, you know, the Tiger Electronics games, which honestly, I didn't mind those too much, but you knew that they were really simple. But as a young gamer, you know, you kind of dealt with it, and it was cool for what it was. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for checking me out, and I will judge you next time. A potion by any other name is still, in fact, a potion. Exquisite.